very accurate, and certainly when they fly that far, they don't have much of a payload either. Nevertheless, this is a threat that's out there, and it's certainly one that the Israeli military will take very, very seriously. And as we've seen here, the Israeli military really seems to be involved in a campaign right now to try and take out a lot of these rocket launching capabilities. A lot of the airstrikes that we've seen have been in sort of open field areas, which are areas that in the past have been known to house rocket launching facilities that Hamas and other extremist groups have been using. So the Israelis certainly seem to be taking the threats against them very, very seriously. They have planes in the air all the time, they have drones in the air all the time, and they are trying to suppress fire that's coming from Gaza, Anderson.
All right, Fred, be careful there in Gaza City. Thank you. Back to square one, it seems, in the efforts to achieve any kind of permanent ceasefire. Joining us now from Jerusalem is Yuval Shteyniץ. He's Israel's intelligence minister and a close ally of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Minister Shteyniץ, I appreciate you being with us. I want to ask you first about the statement today from the military wing of Hamas threatening the international airport, the international airlines, not to take off or land from Tel Aviv. Clearly, they want to see a repeat of what they saw several weeks ago, where international carriers decided to stop flying into Ben Gurion for 24 hours or so.
Yeah, I don't think that this is going to happen. Actually, we have very good defense, missile or rocket defense, the Iron Dome missile defense. And so far, at least in the country center, it got almost 100% success. The only rockets that did land, you mentioned one rocket that did land on the ground in the past, not far away from the Ben Gurion airport, was the one that the system, the Iron Dome system, decided deliberately not to intercept because it was clear that it's going to land in the open field. So I assume that Hamas don't have the capacity really to attack the Ben Gurion airport.
I want to ask you about an Israeli strike that Hamas says targeted the head of its military wing. Was that, in fact, the target? Can you comment on that? A Gaza official say they killed the military head's wife and baby, but the deputy head of Hamas's Politburo was not killed.
Look, I don't want to make any specific comment, but I can say generally that, of course, we are trying to intercept all terrorists, and especially chief terrorists like Mohammed Def. You know, Mohammed Def in the past, 10 years ago, he was involved in sending many actually, plenty suicide bombers into Israel, killing hundreds of Israeli civilians. Then he was pushed to Gaza. From Gaza, it's more difficult to send suicide bombers into our streets, into our buses, into our restaurants. So instead of sending suicide bombers, now Mohammed Def and his people are trying to launch rockets, to attack us with rockets. But it's the same Mohammed Def that in the past used the suicide bombing tactic and now shifted his tactic to launch rockets. Of course, we have the right and actually the duty to intercept people like Mohammed Def and similar terrorist leaders.
Palestinian negotiator Saeb Erekat has said that Israel was not really negotiating in good faith, that they continued to demand the demilitarization of Gaza and not addressing Palestinian desires to have more open borders, to have more control over their borders and their waterways.
You know, this is maybe the most fantastic, ridiculous claim I ever heard. Saeb Erekat is part of the Palestinian Authority. We got written commitment signed on the White House lawn by Yasser Arafat and Abu Mazen that Gaza and the West Bank will remain demilitarized forever, come what may. This commitment was signed by Abu Mazen, the Palestinian president, on the White House lawn 20 years ago, that if Israel will withdraw from Gaza, Gaza will remain demilitarized forever, come what may. So to tell us now that it's dishonest to demand the demilitarization of Gaza once more, this is ridiculous. And you know what? Really, this is the core of the problem. Why we don't have to fight around Ramallah? Only because the demilitarization of Ramallah, of the West Bank, was not violated. Nobody has smuggled thousands of Iranian rockets into Ramallah, and nobody has launched thousands of rockets from Ramallah into Tel Aviv or Be'er Sheva or Ashdod. So the only difference. The only reason why we have to fight around Gaza with a lot of suffering, both for Israelis and Palestinians in Gaza, is that Hamas, is that the Palestinian violated the demilitarization of Gaza, smuggled many thousands of rockets into the demilitarized zone, and launched already 15,000 of those rockets from Gaza into Israel, almost 4,000 only in the last few weeks. No democratic government can accept such rocket attacks or suicide bombing attacks or tunnel incursions into its territory. Of course, we have to defend our people and to strike back, exactly like the United States or Britain when they are under attack from similar terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda or ISIS and Boko Haram, you name it.
As you know, Palestinian groups will counter by saying that the occupation of Gaza, though you have left the Gaza Strip, they believe it still continues because you control the borders, you control the access by water. I appreciate you being on today. Thank you. Up next, more on the execution of James Foley by the terror group ISIS and the brutal tactics of ISIS ahead.
We should be on the air at 6 o'clock as predicted.
Choose to go. Go where no one has gone before.
The skies over Baghdad have been illuminated.
Where no one else will go today. You can go in search of answers, only to find more questions. You might discover something unfamiliar, halfway around the world. Or uncover something unexpected, far closer to home. Sometimes you might need to look back to see how you got here and where you might be headed. And just when you think your journey